Hey everyone, and welcome back to the AI with Maribel Lopez program. I'm Maribel Lopez, and I want to talk about something I keep seeing across enterprise AI deployments that's costing companies real money. And that's the habit of layering AI on top of workflows that were never designed for AI in the first place. Here's the core problem. Most organizations, they're buying AI tools, they're deploying agents, they're experimenting with co-pilots, and then they're wondering why the ROI numbers aren't showing up. And the reason is not the tools per se, it's more the workflows. And occasionally our organizations getting in the way. So if we don't redesign how work gets done, the best AI tools will deliver incremental results at best. I've watched this same pattern play out through several technology evolutions. The organizations that treated new technology as a layer on top of what they already had, they get modest gains. But the ones that rethought their operations around the technology's capabilities, they're the ones that captured the real value. And I see AI is no different here. So today I want to walk you through what I would consider a really specific example that we heard of recently, which is how a company is doing this and getting it right. Cisco recently held a analyst call with a group of industry analysts to talk about how it's using AI to improve its business. I thought this was actually really fascinating. It was very unexpected, actually, as well. So Cisco has developed a systematic methodology for redesigning workflows around AI, and the early results are actually worth paying attention to. So let's break this down into a couple of segments. Okay, so the first segment is the visibility problem, is how I'm going to phrase this. So the first thing Cisco did, and this is a step that most companies skip, is they built visibility into how the work is actually performed across the organization today. So they created something called Atlas, which is essentially a team of AI agents that analyze jobs and workflows to build an enterprise map of work. Atlas cataloged around 4,000 entities and 25,000 relationships across job roles, activities, tools, and for each activity, the system identifies which AI tools can augment the work and how roles may need to evolve. But here's the insight that I think matters most, and that's that Atlas revealed that roughly 75% of project management tasks are identical across multiple groups such as IT, operations, and software development. Without that visibility, every department would be redesigning in its own silo, duplicating efforts, missing opportunities to reuse things that work. And you can't redesign what you can't see. And most organizations have very little visibility into how work is actually performed across functions. And that's the first gap to close. And I think it was really important that they worked on that. So the second thing is what we would call the structured redesign, not an ad hoc experimentation. Now, the second piece of what Cisco did is what did they do with the visibility, right? So they paired Atlas with a digital workflow canvas. Think of this as a design interface where business leaders can see their current workflows, drag in available AI tools, reconfigure the roles, model different scenarios, kind of like digital twinning work, if that's even a thing. So when a leader saves a redesigned workflow, the system calculates what percentage of the work is now AI augmented. It estimates the efficiency or growth gains, and it produces an implementation plan. So it forces leaders to make explicit trade offs between efficiency, growth, role changes, and tooling investments. Gianpaolo Brazzoni, who leads innovation for Cisco's People, Policy, and Purpose organization, said it well. He said, let's pause and not just keep layering on more AI agents or tools. Let's actually re engineer the workflow and understand what use cases are in flight. So, that I think is a discipline that most organizations are missing. We're experimenting with AI tools in isolation. We're ending up with tool sprawl instead of transformation. Structured methodology beats ad hoc experimentation every time. So, okay, Sounds interesting, right? We've got some visibility, we've worked on some structure. What happened? What'd the pilot show? So Cisco tested this approach with their 3P organization, which is people, policy, and purpose. The pilot identified 28 transformational use cases and found that approximately 60% of workflow activities could be AI augmented. What I find most interesting, though, is the balance that they struck. Cisco deliberately avoided framing this as a headcount reduction story. Instead, they positioned augmentation as enabling existing teams to expand scope or improve quality. And that distinction matters enormously for adoption for your teams, just for the positive aspects of like moving your business forward. So if your teams believe AI exists to eliminate their jobs, they tend to resist it. But if they see it as a way to do more meaningful work, to lean in, to have better job opportunities, that's where you can start to see some real value. So Cisco is now expanding this methodology to the product team, the engineering and strategy team. So this isn't a one-off pilot. It's becoming an operational model for them, which I think is great. And that leads us to the fourth part. And this is actually perhaps one of the most difficult parts out of all of that, although I'm sure getting that AI model up and running with Atlas was not easy. But the last piece, and I think this is where most companies miss this one entirely, is leadership and challenge and talent shift is required to make any of this work, right? So Cisco is repositioning workflow redesign as a core leadership competency. It's not just an HR initiative. It's not just an IT project. It's a full on leadership responsibility across the organization. And that's really important. So, Fran Katsodas, their EVP, and I'm sorry, Fran, if I mispronounce your name, and Chief People, Policy, and Purpose Officer put it clearly when uh, she said it's a leadership and cultural change that has to happen, not just a challenge change. Leaders need to lead change, embrace AI, and reinvent their work. So, on the talent side, Cisco is tracking AI tool usage and using that data to identify what they call AI explorers. And these are employees who are demonstrating high adoption, and that data now informs engagement assessments, the potential for promotion opportunities, career acceleration. They're learning who in the organization understands how to use AI and what they were trying to do. So AI proficiency is being treated as a primary indicator of adaptability. So it's in this day and age, it's not a nice to have secondary skill. We're seeing that for many roles, this is an important skill to have. So both of these moves are significant. If AI transformation is delegated to middle management, it gets treated as tactical. And if AI proficiency isn't recognized in, say, your performance management systems, and you're asking people to change behavior without aligning that to assessments, that actually rarely works. So here's some of the key takeaways. If I had to boil this all down to one thing, it's this. The question for enterprise leaders isn't whether to adopt AI. I think we've all bought into that right now, and it's just a matter of how deep, how broad, how fast, right? But it's whether you're willing to do the harder work of redesigning how your organization operates. Using the same playbook with different tools isn't going to work in 2026. So if the technology exists and we're seeing that there's some proven use cases, I think what's missing for most organizations is the discipline to redesign these workflows before deploying more tools. So map your workflows first, make redesign a leadership responsibility, align your talent systems to your AI priorities. Start there. And, there's so many things we could be doing. But I actually think understanding what work looks like today and how AI might change it is super important for your organization. And that's how we turn it from being a tool into being something that really transforms business. So that's it for today. If you found this useful, subscribe to the AI with Maribel Lopez show, subscribe to the LinkedIn newsletter, visit me on Lopez Research. There's like a million places you can find me now. So wherever you get podcasts or video, I'll put a link to the blog that I wrote on this topic in the show notes or in the live stream notes. So thanks for listening.